The Red Sox are flying high. So are the Marlins. But will it matter for the Marlins?
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube channel. And if you are leaving us a message or something on any of the social medias, excuse me as I scratched my nose, make sure to leave this hashtag, easy for you to say, where'd it go? There it is, Everyday Sully. It helps us find those comments because sometimes they're all over the map and you don't always at me. And I try to put some comments on here so we can have it there. And we're going to talk about a couple of things, including, by the way, we get lots of comments. Most of the time they're friendly. Some people think I was stupid. When I did my episode about Pride Month, I got some very, very positive comments. I got some very, very negative comments. Surprise. When I did my thing on unifying America through baseball, most of the comments I got were positive. I get some people who don't like me, and you know what? I get it. Not everyone's gonna like you. Pigskin Petey, however, Pigskin Petey is a listener and a watcher. It says, "I like you, Sully," and you know it's not a bot because it's YA. I like you, Sully. You embrace diversity of thought. Appreciate you. That could be my favorite comment I ever got because you may not know this, Pigskin Pete, but the original title of this show was Locked On Diversity of Thought, but we decided to change it to Locked On MLB. But I really, that's a wonderfully complimentary and totally unexpected comment that I got the other day from Pigskin Petey, who I'm guessing is a football fan as well. Let's talk about the trivia question. And let's go through that. Then we're going to talk a little bit about who owned baseball because that's going to lead into the two teams I'm going to talk a little bit about today. Who was the last All-Star Game starting pitcher who would go on to throw the final World Series clinching pitch that same year? And I doubt it's going to happen this year in the National League because Paul Skeens is once again going to start. And I'm going to just make a bold comment here. I do not think the Pirates are winning the World Series this year. But who was the last All-Star Game starting pitcher who would go on to throw the final World Series clinching pitch that year? And we have to go to Stephen B. Knoxville said, I think the trivia is Chris Sale. Yes. Now, the reason why this is a rare event these days is complete games are kind of like Bigfoot sightings. In fact, you're more likely to see a Bigfoot sighting than a complete game these days because Pasquantino may get a big hit in Kansas City, and that dude dressed up as a Sasquatch will walk across Kauffman. That has to be the best gig in baseball, to be sitting right off stage, dressed as a Sasquatch. I'm assuming you're reading a newspaper or playing Wordle, and they say, oh, he got a hit. All right, put the Sasquatch hat on. I'm going to walk. But complete games just don't happen anymore. And sometimes to my dismay, because there's some situations you see, like I'll go over Boyd for Chicago yesterday. I don't know why he didn't throw a complete game. He didn't have a high pitch count. He had a decent lead, and have him throw that ninth and have a totally rested bullpen the next day. We'll go over that a little bit when I go over who owned baseball. So there had been years where a pitcher had threw a complete game to clinch the World Series. You certainly saw that with Oral Hershiser did that in 1988. Technically, Jack Morris did in 1991, but he didn't throw the clinching pitch because it was a walk-off hit by Gene Larkin. Josh Beckett did it. I think Josh Beckett was the last one to throw a complete game to clinch a World Series back in 2003 with the Marlins. We'll talk about the Marlins, the two teams that he pitched well for and threw complete games with, the Marlins and the Red Sox, and pitched well, won postseason MVPs and rings with both of them. But Chris Sale was the starting pitcher for the American League in the 2018 All-Star game. And in the 2018 World Series, the clinching game was thrown by David Price, who arguably could have been the World Series MVP. They gave it to Steve Pearce. I don't know if anyone's going to argue with that, but Price was wonderful in that World Series, and he pitched into the eighth. And Kelly got him out of a jam in the eighth. And Craig Kimbrell, who's had a wonderful career, I'm not going to knock him, but he was, every time he was on the mound, Red Sox fans' blood pressure went up because just for whatever reason he couldn't close out a game. He would get the save, but he's like he let up 2 runs and 5 hits in 1 inning. Like, got the save. Like, everyone's blood pressure went up. It wasn't a save situation, and Cora just said, "Screw it, I'll bring in Chris Sale." And he brought in Chris Sale to throw the final 3 outs, 1, 2, 3. And the final pitch he threw was to Manny Machado, who basically did a corkscrew into the ground. And Chris Sale was the starting pitcher of the All-Star game and came out of the bullpen. By the way, I know the Red Sox were doing all sorts of shenanigans and cheating. I know that. I understand that. And a lot of people don't acknowledge that 2018 title for the same reasons they don't acknowledge the 2017 title for the Astros. And I've got to be fine with that. And Red Sox fans have to be fine with that. I enjoyed it. I prefer the other 3 World Series titles to 2018, quite frankly. But I loved how Cora handled the pitching staff then, because he would use pitchers, starting pitchers in relief. He just would pitch whoever was the best pitcher for that particular moment. Hey, let's go over who owned baseball for July 12th, 2025, yesterday. We did have a complete game. We had Garrett Crochet. He went the distance. He struck out 9. He didn't walk a single Tampa Bay batter. He threw a complete game, 3-hit shutout. And the Red Sox won 1-0. It was fabulous. It was a 1-0 game. It was like, you go out. I trust you more than anybody. And now he did that. There was a bit of adrenaline, and the Red Sox are going to have their complete bullpen ready for the final game there. Matthew Boyd, I mentioned him before. He threw 8 scoreless innings with a pretty low pitch count. He was lifted, and I honestly don't remember the name of the first pitcher they brought out. They had to go to their closer to close out the 5-2 win, the Cubs over the Yankees. Hey, what else do we have? We had a complete game shot. We had the cycle. Byron Buxton completed the cycle with a home run. He got 5 hits altogether, and the last step of the cycle was a home run, and the Twins absolutely clobbered the Pirates, who I said are not going to win the World Series this year. Jackson Merrill hit a pair of home runs. The Padres had a come-from-behind victory over the Phillies, which put them back in a playoff spot, and at least for a day, knocked the Phillies out of first place. The Mets are right now in first place. We had half wobs to Landon Rope, who pitched well for the Giants, but they were doubled up by the Dodgers 2-1. Aaron Judge, he now has 350 home runs. It's the fastest anyone's got to 350 home runs. He's not as young as you think. He was brought up. He was still in his 20s. We brought up, but he wasn't like brought up as a young phenom. So I think the idea of him getting to 600 home runs that ship may have sailed, but he's creeping closer to 400 and getting that punch card to the Hall of Fame. Brady House got a pair of home runs, but the Nationals were walked off by the red-hot Milwaukee Brewers, who are knocking on first place door. And Trevor Rogers pitched very well. He struck out 8 in 6 2/3 innings, but the Orioles were blanked by the Marlins 6-0. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Red Sox, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Marlins, because to me, they are both two very interesting teams going into the All-Star break. One is surprising the heck out of me because I thought they folded up shop, and the other should be one of the more exciting and fun stories, maybe not for a pennant run this year, but for next year. But we both know that's not going to happen. I got to be honest with you. I had a choice the other day to try to go to a Giants game or try to see the Superman. I wound up seeing the Superman because I wanted to see the movie with my son. It's fun. It's the guy who plays Superman is great, and there you go. But there have been times I've said, you know what, I'm going to go to the ball game today, and it is a spur of the moment thing. And sometimes I have that same thing if I want to go to a concert. I said, do I want to go to a concert? Do I want to see a comedy show? Do you want to go to see something? And it's really like a spur of the moment thing. And the tickets go on sale. You're not sure what to do. And then, boom, you lose your spot for the show you're dying to see. You got to be able to have a partner for getting those spontaneous tickets. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert, ball game, comedy ticket, whatever, faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime and first pitch, and you can save up to 60% off with killer last minute deals. And you get zone deals. You say, I want to sit somewhere around here. I know where I like to sit in a concert. I know where I like to sit in a ball game. Not necessarily the same place. Not every concert's in a ballpark. You get a panoramic seat view. You say, oh, I like that. That's a sure. And with Game Time, you can see the price. That's what you pay. There's no hidden fee. So take the guesswork out of buying concert, show tickets, ball game, whatever with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. That's Game Time. Game Time. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. LOCKEDONMLB. That's Locked On MLB. And go to Game Time. As he fumbles for the button. I did a little Hall & Oates there. LOCK, the Method of Modern Love. I saw Hall & Oates in concert back in 1984 at the Boston Garden. It was really amazing. Tied it right back into Boston. 9-game winning streak for the Red Sox. 9. Who saw that? Did I see that happening? 9, as they say in Germany, where my son is right now. Unbelievable. I roasted the Red Sox. Absolutely roasted the Red Sox for punting, for trading away Rafael Devers for a flat can of Sprite and a VHS copy of The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. But no, they went on a stretch where they lost 7 out of 10. And I said, there you go, boys. Way to go. Way to go. But boy, oh boy, they got themselves an ace in Garrett Crochet. Absolutely did. He is everything the Red Sox would want. He comes in, he wins the big games. He comes in, he pitches, obviously he has had multiple games where he pitches 8+. I think he threw a complete game on Saturday. And again, I know we're not supposed to like complete games anymore. I know we're supposed to say, wait a minute, they threw 2 2/3 innings. We now have to put them back in their, they have to put them in case of carbonite, and then wonder why your bullpen's worn out. If this is one of the things I'm gonna talk about this in a later episode this week of how, if I owned a team, what I would do. But there is something to be said about the complete game. Brian Bello threw in a couple of days ago. Crochet threw in here to give your bullpen a day off. To give them a day off and say, okay, you're going to be out and running now. Bello is pitching a lot better recently. Giolito is pitching well recently. Crochet he leads the league in innings pitched, 129 in the third innings. He started the most games. He's won a ton of games. He has a super low ERA. He has to be in the conversation for the Cy Young Award. I'm not saying he should win the Cy Young Award. I'm saying he's in the conversation. Full disclosure, I hate the fact that Aroldis Chapman is on the team. He's always been one of my least favorite players based on, what happened. Sorry, something on my camera there. I'm just based upon his history and his past and everything. People say time to move on. You don't really move on from that. But I also know that he did serve his suspension. And this is part of the collective bargaining. If you serve the suspension, you can come back. Okay, doesn't mean I necessarily have to like it. I don't always like my closer. I was always crazy about, when Stephen Wright was on the Red Sox in 2018 for similar reasons. But we move on. I wish he didn't, but there you go. But the Red Sox bullpen has been pitching pretty well. Thank you very much. And then there's the time release. The time release is Trevor Story. And Trevor Story, who is right now, he's hitting a bunch of home runs. You're starting to see the runs are starting to come in when he's in, and he's on a little bit of a roll. And you see that Jared Duran, who there was rumors that he would be traded, and instead he's picking it up right now. We're seeing Cedar Rafael, of course, hit that walk-off 2-run home run the other day. And Wilyer Abreu, he's up and down, but he gets some big hits from time to time. And the likes of, we've seen Roman Anthony get some hits. We've seen Meyer get some hits. They've not become, we've seen Christian Campbell get some hits. We've not seen them becoming the phenoms that we're hoping they would be. But that being said, we're also seeing them getting some reps and playing some games where you could say, oh, look at that. The team's getting some big hits. The team is getting some big hits. And you could point to their schedule. And yes, I know some people have done that. You can point to their schedule and say, okay, they've been beating the snot out of teams like the Rockies. They've been going up against teams that are, like they're playing Tampa right now, who are, by the way, a playoff team. They're on the verge of sweeping them. Yeah, they played Washington. They swept Washington. Washington stinks. And they swept Colorado. And Colorado stinks. And they took 2 out of 3 from the Reds. And they don't necessarily stink. They have some talent on their team. But, they've been in a slump. Yeah, I get it. The Red Sox have had a pretty light July. But they are 10-1 in July. If you want to make up for lost time, and remember, they finished April with a record of 17-15. Not great. They finished May 11-17, and they had a mediocre June. So, yeah, if you want to dust yourself off and get back in the fray, guess what? Beat up the teams that stink. And they've been doing that. And Tampa Bay doesn't stink. Now, for Red Sox fans, they are going to be going into the All-Star game in one of the playoff spots. For Red Sox fans, they're having images of maybe catching the Yankees dancing in their head. As we're seeing, the Yankees pitching staff is getting a little weaker and a little weird. Now, obviously, the Yankees had a great winning streak recently. The last game against the Mets swept Seattle, won the first game against Chicago, and then they hand the ball to Fried, thinking, "Oh my God, they're going to win this series against Chicago, the Cubs, and give a chance for the sweep on Sunday." But Fried left with blisters on his fingers. That, which is, I think, what Ringo Starr yelled at the end of Helter Skelter. Boy, oh boy, how about that for an up-to-date reference? Now, that could be nothing, or it could be something. Like most things, it could be nothing, or it could be something. Yeah, that's by the way, that is some of the profound stuff that I say. And it's the kind of thing that Pigskin Petey appreciates when I embrace the diversity of thought. But I don't wish injury on anybody. I don't. I want the best players playing and all teams to be at full strength. And Max Fried is absolutely one of the best pitchers of baseball right now. He should be in the conversation for the Cy Young Award as well. If he misses any amount of time, even a month, that could be a real kick to the fruit stand for the Yankees. Now, Red Sox fans, I want to just beg you. I'm going to be on my hands and knees and pleading to you. Don't get ahead of yourselves. The Red Sox have dusted themselves off, done their best to put the Devers situation behind them. By the way, I'm here in the Bay Area. Giant fans aren't exactly falling in love with Rafael Devers. He's been okay. He's had a couple of big games, a couple of bad games, and apparently he's blown off legend and don't touch him Will Clark. Will Clark, who is obviously was their Giants MVP candidate and beloved player from the late 80s, early 90s. The reason why he basically slugged the Giants into the World Series in 1989, has said, I'm going to go teach Rafael Devers how to play first. And evidently Devers has blown off Will Clark a couple of times. Uh, and whenever Devers comes up, and I'm surrounded by Giant fans when I'm up here in the Bay Area, I get no shortage of people saying, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. And I'm thinking, all right. Hey, he helped us win that World Series I'm not allowed to talk about, but there you go. There you go. I still think it was a ridiculous move. And when you have the likes of Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer and all of them, to have a veteran who has been there, done that, helps take a little pressure off of them. And they got nothing back from them except salary relief. They better they better go off like it's an episode of Supermarket Sweep. All right, I digress. They're going to go to the All-Star break after today. And even if they lose today 48-0, they will have finished they'll leave July going into the All-Star break with a 10-2 record. That's worst case scenario. Then they have a couple of days off. They don't come back till Friday. Everyone's rested, everyone's ready, everyone's had a pina colada, some have been caught in the rain. Then comes a stretch that is absolutely not playing the Nationals and the Rockies. They're going to be going to Wrigley Field, a team that is currently in first place with some very good pitching, like Mr. Boyd, thank you very much. Then they're going to be going to the Philadelphia. And the Philadelphia, who has been in a bit of a slump and have fallen out of first place. And Zach Wheeler, of all people, lost the game to San Diego the other day. But they're pretty good, and it's in Philadelphia. They could still win the World Series. Then they come back home for some home cooking, and who is going to be there? Dave Roberts and the champs. 3 games with the Dodgers. And then they go to Minnesota and Houston. Minnesota is the weakest opponent they have, and they're going to be at Minnesota, and the Twins do have talent. Just look at Buxton, who just hit for the cycle the other day. What I'm saying is, you got to win those games like Colorado or Washington or a slumping Cincinnati team. You have to win those games because you want to pile up those wins because this is a gauntlet coming up. This is an absolute gauntlet. When you're looking at this, you're going, oh boy, because they've been tiptoeing through the tulip fields. And then they're going to be going into the temple at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark with all the spikes and the spiders and the big rock chasing the Red Sox. That's what they're going to be facing next. So, yeah, it's great that if you're a Red Sox fan, this is great. And if you're a baseball fan, you want to see some of the teams that have not been in it for the last couple of years dust themselves off and do pretty well. You have an outside chance to see a Red Sox-Yankee wild card series, especially if the Blue Jays continue to play well. And if no other reason for Boston fans, at least now they're getting a fun summer. Now, another team that currently has a losing record, but should be giving their fans hope, but they're not going to have hope because nothing to do with the organization, nothing to do with the managers, nothing to do with the players. It has to do with the identity of that team, the priority of that team, and the history of that team. All right, folks. The Marlins are 6-6 in July. So it's not it's not like they've been like the Red Sox. And the Marlins had a tough few games against Cincinnati recently. They lost a few games there. They lost a pair of games to Milwaukee, who are on a bit of a rampage. And this was after they went on that big, huge winning streak at the end of June. But here's the deal. They won yesterday, 6-0 against the Baltimore Orioles, one of the more disappointing teams in all of baseball. And the Marlins won, and with that victory, I want you to just sort of take this into your peanut for a second. Jansen Junk pitched yesterday, and boy, oh boy, that's got to be one of the best baseball names ever. I think in 15 years, when I'm playing Immaculate Grid, I'm going to be dropping Jansen Junk as often as I can. I thought Eric Plunk was a good name. Jansen Junk. That sounds like a name from a video game from the 80s or 90s, like Hardball, where they couldn't get the rights to the player. So they need to have a junk ball pitcher playing for the Accolade Aces or the Accolade All-Stars. And Jansen Junk would come out of the bullpen along with Doc Tompkins. Yeah, I remember Doc Tompkins played for Hardball. Junk, 7 shutout innings. He lowered his ERA to 2.68. Didn't walk a batter. Pitched well. Pitched very well. And then you saw Sanchez got hit, but Xavier Edwards, their leadoff man, got the double, got a homer, raised his average, if you like average, to 289, raised his OPS to 700. Not that that's superstar stuff, but it's not bad. Humberto Hernandez, their DH, is slashing 325 with an 883 OPS right there. They're playing pretty well. And for the last 30 games, this is what I want you to wrap your head around. The Marlins have the second best record in the National League over the last 30 games. Now, they're still 8 games under 500. They're still probably not going to have a winning team. When you take a look at the team, you see Xavier Edwards at second base. He's a fun player. He's a good player. You see Jesus Sanchez. He's 27 years old. He's got some speed. He can hit. Augustin Ramirez, their 23-year-old DH, has pop and has had some really big games. You have Connor Norby, their 25-year-old third baseman, has a little bit of pop, has had a couple of decent games recently. Their young catcher, Nick Fortes, he's not bad. He's not bad. Their pitching staff. Now, Sandy Alcantara, who won the Cy Young a few years ago, he's been giving him innings, but he's not having a good year. His ERA is over 7. But Edward Cabrera is having a very good year. He's been solid. And some players in their bullpen, especially Ronnie Enriquez, has pitched pretty well. Yuri Perez, who's come off a bunch of injuries, has come back and has had a couple of decent games. And did I mention Jansen Junk, who's under 30 himself? The Marlins should be giving their fans hope, not for 2025, but for 2026. I believe a baseball team owes their fans a summer, a fun summer. The Marlins aren't making the playoffs this year. If you can't offer them a present, you have to offer them a future. You have to give them hope. You have to give them a sense of, hey, we have a shot next year. Come see this team. Come see the young players on this team. We're laying down the foundation. We're not pushovers. And if you see that we filled in enough holes, we can go in next year. We can go into the offseason with some money to spend and to fill some holes. Maybe not get the big superstar, but go in and contend. And not just that, they're playing in a division. Yes, you got the Mets, and the Mets have spent all this money, this, that, and the other thing, which so far has amounted to 0 division titles. Remember that. This ownership has spent money like the movie Brewster's Millions, and they've finished first place 0 times. And not just that, they're in first place right now, and they've had to fight and claw their way. And Philadelphia is going to be the team that wins, probably is going to win the division this year, but it could be the Mets. I know they won it last year. They're getting a little long in the tooth. And veteran teams who go on a roll could fall off a cliff. And sometimes it happens real fast. So if you're a team like the Marlins with young players, and you know there's 2 spots you can get in the National League East, taking aim at the king and say, we got some young players. Now, maybe you do trade Sandy Alcantara because maybe this is the top of his value, or maybe you don't. Maybe you say, okay, you're not our ace anymore, but you're our number 4. See if you can come back and pitch like a number 4 next year. Either way, This should be a fun time to be a Marlin fan, to come to the stands, to come to the ballpark, to use Game Time and get yourself some tickets there. Tickets are available at Lone Depot Park in Miami. And to have a sense of, ooh, we're about to have something cool happen. And sometimes that year before the explosion is kind of fun. I remember 2009 for Giant fans. Oh, is something happening here? Is something happening here? Boom. 2013 for Royal fans. Wait, are they not bad anymore? Are they not bad anymore? Boom. That can be a fun year. But it's not going to happen because the Marlins are a Mickey Mouse team, not the GM, not the scouting, not the manager. I have no problem with any of them. The ownership. They don't have that priority. Why the hell do you own a baseball team if that's not part of your goal? And how do I know this? Because they had it in 2023. They made the playoffs in 2023. This isn't a hypothetical. This isn't a, well, just imagine if everything lined up and Pluto was here and Neptune was there. They were a playoff team in 2023, a young playoff team. They say, hey, we made the playoffs. We got over that hurdle. We were off the schneid. Now let's push it a little bit more. I'm not saying go on a spending spree like the Mets, but let's start filling in the gaps. And they did the exact opposite. They said, oh my God, we're a playoff team. We can't have that. And you wonder why Marlin fans don't show up. I do not blame the Marlin fans who show up are some of the best fans in baseball. I saw the same thing across the bay in Oakland. The A's fans who showed up when management was sabotaging the team were among the best fans in all of baseball because they stood by their team, even though the ownership gave them no reason to. The fans who show up to Marlin games, you're a real fan. Don't let anyone tell you differently. And you'll never get credit. Oh, where are the Marlin fans? They don't exist. Yeah, the attendance isn't zero. It's getting close to it, but it's not zero. And the fans who are there cheering for the Fish don't ever question their loyalty or their quality of baseball fandom. A Marlin fan, yes, you stand by that team. They can't even win a World Series and not blow the damn team up. They've made the playoffs in the 2020s as many times as the Mets, and more times than the Cubs, and more times than the Red Sox. It's not hyperbole. Did they build upon it? No. And now look what they're doing. Imagine, I've made this point before, but when I see them playing well, and I see that they're playing in Miami, and we have the essential. It's not like they can go on a big wings, but not like they could have put in a bid for Shohei Ohtani. And I sit there going, like, why not? I've made this point before. In any other sport, Miami is a glamour spot. Why is it Erie, Pennsylvania in baseball and a big glamorous spot in every other sport? Because of the ownership. This is the problem we need to fix for a lockout. Not a salary cap, not fighting with the players. It's making sure every owner has the same goal to put a winning product on the field. And winning products, like we're seeing in San Diego, can do things like fill up the stadium and make you some money and build fans for generations. There are going to be San Diego fans who, by the way, they haven't won a pennant either, but they are constantly trying to. And one of the best parks of baseball is always filled. They're drawing like crazy in San Diego. The Marlins should be a big draw. They're in Miami. It's transplanted New Yorkers and people from the Caribbean. The two of the biggest demographics that love baseball. And they're already in Miami. And they're building a team that, while they're not going to make the playoffs this year, could be really good next year. But they won't be. Because their ownership sucks. And it's bad for baseball. It's good for baseball to have owners who are trying. The Marlins made the playoffs in 2023 and should have represented everything good And instead, they illustrated what's wrong. It's not a salary cap. It's a thinking cap for ownership. What are you thinking? I would love to see the Marlins be good. I would. I really would. And I actually would love to see the Rays make the playoffs just to see what the hell they're going to do. But all right, let's. We got one last day of games before the All-Star game. Let's go through the trivia question, which is: what pitcher has started the most games in Marlins history? Started the most games, not the most appearance. What pitcher has started the most games in Marlins history? And I honestly don't think I've asked that question before. Part of me wonders if I did. It feels a little familiar. But guess what? If I don't remember, chances are you don't either. But all right. But by the way, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Your second listen, just keep it right here for the all-new Locked On MLB game night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night right here on the Locked On MLB feed on the YouTubes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Talking about the Red Sox and how they've turned a season around where I thought they were giving up, and the Marlins, who will inevitably give up even though they're turning a season around. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.